Richard Petty, a 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, has long been regarded as a racing authority. However, he recently resorted to social media to provide a simple solution to the issues afflicting superspeedway racing. What was his answer? More horsepower, as that is what we've all been waiting for. And in a way, he's actually right. In a video posted on his official X account, Petty said, "The way to make them more exciting is to give them more horsepower and let them run faster. The faster they run, the more the driver has to stay on his toes." He emphasized that increasing speed would require drivers to be more alert and focused, adding, "When you get cars running 200 miles per hour instead of 185 miles per hour, all the drivers are not capable of running that speed that close to each other. That's the first thing to really separate the cars, because that's how it used to be." Petty's comments follow years of criticism of the current generation of stock cars, which frequently result in tight clusters of vehicles on the track. These clusters can cause enormous wrecks, such as the one involving Ryan Preece at the 2025 Daytona 500. When cars are constructed to run even faster, say 200 miles per hour instead of 185, it becomes considerably more difficult for all drivers to control, especially when they're racing so close together. The added speed distinguishes the drivers from the cars. Not everyone can stay up at that level, which is when the greatest begin to separate themselves from the others. It's reminiscent of how racing used to be, when speed and talent genuinely distinguished the top racers. The 2025 Daytona 500 was completely crazy. Ryan Preece, driving for RFK Racing, collided with Christopher Bell during Stage 3 and went airborne in an unexpected flip. This was not the first time Preece had encountered such a terrible occurrence. In 2023, he flipped on the same track during the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Preece's frustration was obvious following the occurrence. He said, "We keep beating on a door hoping for a different result, and we know where there's a problem at superspeedways. Something needs to be done because cars are lifting off the ground like that. Everything about that, airborne, heading toward the fence, it's not a good place to be in." Preece's crash was one of many during the tumultuous Daytona 500, showcasing the race's unpredictability and risk. This year's race saw 35 out of 41 cars collide, the greatest number of incidents since 2019. And last weekend's race saw some big hits as well. The high number of accidents has raised worries among drivers, teams, and safety experts regarding the design and durability of NASCAR's next-gen vehicles. While next-gen cars were launched to increase competition and lower prices, some worry that they may not absorb impacts as well as prior models, putting drivers at risk. Many argue that the vehicle's hard structure, while improving performance, has contributed to more severe crashes and injuries. Furthermore, some drivers have expressed worries about how the cars perform in high-speed pack racing, when close-quarters competition increases the risk of multi-car pileups. Richard Petty is not alone in advocating for change. Denny Hamlin, a 3-time Daytona 500 winner, has expressed concern about the next G car's lack of horsepower. Hamlin believes this has made it more difficult for cars to overtake each other, resulting in more crashes. He said, "I feel like the Daytona 500 is a microcosm of the sport in general. We took away horsepower because we wanted to look good on TV, but not to actually pass." Petty and Hamlin's viewpoint reflects a rising argument in NASCAR. Are the current cars too slow, and is the lack of horsepower making races more dangerous? The next G cars, which debuted in 2022, were expected to revolutionize NASCAR. However, many, including Richard Petty, have criticized their performance. Petty once said, "If somebody pulls out, they have to have help because they don't have any horsepower. You pull out of line and go forward, then the next lap 14 cars come back by, and you're still running wide open." This lack of horsepower has resulted in aggressive and dangerous racing, with drivers frequently risking everything to gain an advantage. While this provides for thrilling television, it also raises the possibility of a wreck. So, what's next in superspeedway racing? Richard Petty's desire for increased horsepower has generated a heated debate. Fans and racers alike are asking if NASCAR will do something to address these issues. Petty's remedy is straightforward. Give them more horsepower and let them run faster. But will NASCAR heed to King? Only time will tell. Richard Petty's strong words have shook the NASCAR community. His request for more horsepower and quicker cars revived the debate over the future of superspeedway racing. Will NASCAR take steps to make races safer and more thrilling? Or will the pandemonium persist? One thing is certain. Richard Petty's voice will remain a guiding force in the world of racing. He utilized the phrase, "The faster they run, the more the driver has to stay on his toes." And just maybe, it is exactly what NASCAR needs right now. Aside from the horsepower argument, this point in NASCAR history signals a crossroads. Does the sport prioritize safety over spectacle, or does it strike a balance that maintains the intensity while protecting the drivers? Petty, Hamlin, and many fans believe that increasing horsepower could be the key to doing both. After all, NASCAR's golden period was distinguished by high speeds, ability, and stakes. Perhaps it's time to return to our roots. However, the issue is not solely about what is best for the sport. It also concerns NASCAR's business side. More speeds imply more hazards, which may raise more worries among sponsors, manufacturers, and safety officials. NASCAR's leadership must carefully consider these concerns before making any major changes. However, if history has taught us anything, it is that Richard Petty's ideas should be taken seriously. The King's speech carries weight. His expertise, accomplishment, and legacy helped mold NASCAR into what it is today. And when he speaks, people listen. It's unclear whether NASCAR officials will take his statements seriously. But one thing is certain. The debate over horsepower, speed, and safety is far from done. Fans, drivers, and teams will be watching intently to see if any modifications are made before the next major event. So, will NASCAR reintroduce the raw power that marked its most iconic races? Will they provide drivers with the resources they need to separate the best from the rest? Or will they stick with controlled pack racing, in which every move is a calculated risk, similar to a high-speed chess match? One thing is certain. Richard Petty is not backing down. His message is straightforward. Give them more horsepower and let them run faster. Whether NASCAR listens or not, the King has spoken, and his words will define the argument for many years to come. As NASCAR approaches a critical juncture, the battle over horsepower and speed is more than simply engineering and regulations. It is about the sport's fundamental spirit. Richard Petty's desire for more horsepower recalls a period when racing was raw, exhilarating, and brutal. It was a time when the quickest drivers became legendary, not only for their skill, but also for their determination to push the limits. However, this poses an essential question. What do you, the fans, want to see in the future of NASCAR? Do you miss the high-speed, high-stakes races that distinguish the great from the good? Or do you believe that safety and control should come first, even if it means less excitement on the track? Richard Petty's vision is clear. He believes in challenging the drivers, providing them the ability to actually race and establish their worth. But with increasing authority comes greater responsibility and peril. Is the excitement of seeing drivers on the edge worth the risk? Would you want to witness wild, daring racing or clever, deliberate maneuvers in a pack? The conversation does not end with horsepower. It affects NASCAR's entire culture. Do we want a sport that highlights speed and talent in their most raw form? Or do we want a spectacle that is safe and predictable for TV audiences? Are today's drivers given the chance to actually prove themselves? Or are they merely performers in a staged show? NASCAR's decision makers are listening, but they need to hear from the sport's most essential voices. You, the fans. This is your chance to help influence the future of racing. What kind of NASCAR do you want to watch? What type of legacy should the current generation of drivers leave behind? Imagine a world where the roar of motors is louder, the speed is astonishing, and each pass is a bet with fate. Consider the consequences, the collisions, the dangers, and the safety concerns that accompany them. Which vision resonates with you more? As NASCAR moves forward, one thing is clear. The sport is at a crossroads, and the decisions taken today will reverberate for generations. So what will it be? Will the sport return to its roots of speed and boldness? Or will it evolve into a safer, more controlled future? The King has spoken. Now it is your time. Where do you stand in the debate? Most importantly, where do you want NASCAR to go next? Your enthusiasm, voice, and vision will help shape the future of racing.